Um, it's health-related media waste, which sounds as boring as shit, right? But actually, between myself and my small and compact Bijou team, which consists of Sarah Thorne, if she's watching virtually, she's the only one health practitioner in the whole of the UK, and Dr. Sarah Williams, who's part of Greener Practice Wales. The journey has been fascinating, right? And where's Steph stroke Sarah? Where is she, right? Like everyone else on the cake cohort, I too thought it was cake. And the most disappointing thing that I had was going back to my partner who said, where is the cake? Right? That was a really tough thing for me to do. But in the principle of cake, okay, I've got no slides apart from a picture that the guys are trying to put up desperately, okay? And when it comes on, you'll see why I'm putting it on there, okay? So my pet hates, right? My pet hates a really poor design thinking, right? And a lack of understanding in the relationship between human behavior and what happens in society, okay? And if you have a close look at that picture, so this was when I was actually driving down here from Cardiff, okay? You can see that the picture actually exhibits both of those two things, okay? So in the principle of cake, okay, I'm going to tell you what it feels like, yeah, if you have a pinch of curiosity, yeah, a little sprinkle of reality and realism, a teaspoonful of courage and leadership, yeah, and a whole big whack of ambition and action at the end of this, okay? And I'll also use some metaphors, okay? So does everyone know what an inhaler is? Yeah, everyone knows what an inhaler is, okay? I'll use that as a metaphor. It's actually a red herring because actually inhalers represent only a little tiny amount of waste that exists in the NHS system, okay? If I was going to give you a scale about this, the NHS produces 1% of the total UK waste every single year. And the other industry that I'll talk about is the construction industry that actually has 30% of the waste that's been generated. So between the NHS and the construction industry, okay, we contribute quite well to the global waste problem of the UK. So unless we're tackling that, we're not really challenging or tackling anything. So curiosity. So inhalers, everyone knows what inhaler is? Yeah, okay. We started looking at the inhaler and realized that we knew the square root of nothing actually about inhalers, despite the fact that we actually work in the NHS. So we know about the medical properties of the insert of the inhaler, but we actually knew nothing about inhalers, okay? So we knew nothing about the recycling process at all. We didn't actually know why you couldn't actually recycle an inhaler, because the problem is, if we make human behaviors do something exceptional in order to do something, okay? If I was to ask, sorry, what's your name? Right? If I was asked you, Mark, do something that you don't normally do, would you be likely inclined to do it? Right? You'd have to have an incentive to do something, okay? And what we actually found is a lot of people, when we asked, well, why can't you recycle an inhaler in domestic and municipal waste, okay? Why can't you make it convenient for the citizen to be able to do it, okay? We ended up with a whole litany of challenges around that. Oh, you can't possibly do it because it's special. It's interesting. I can't do it because it's special. You can't do it because it's a medicinal product, okay? You can't do it because of this. You can't do it because of that. Then we went to the industry, okay? So I used to work in industry. So the lovely guy who got a hammer in on over right at the end of it, okay, right? I've been on the back end of this. So we actually asked the industry, the likes of GSK, the likes of Pfizer, the likes of Teva, massive suppliers of inhalers, okay? They give Wales 3 million of these a year. We prescribe them. There's about 15 million hanging around in people's shelves, right? What's the plastic made of? Do you know what the answer was? They actually didn't have a clue, right? Because they don't actually manufacture the inhaler. They subcontract to a manufacturing inhaler who actually buys the injection mold and the raw materials, etc. So they didn't actually know, even though they've got their own global challenges around this. We decided to do some action. We took all the inhalers we could find, right? And we took them to the mass spectrometer at Aberystwyth University just to find out what was going on with it, okay? So do you know how many types of different plastics there are, basically? Right? Anyone got clues? Crowd participation, getting you ready for like lunch, okay? Any idea? Does somebody want to give me a number at how many different types of plastic they think are in existence? Sorry? 6 is the correct answer, right? It's not a Google search or anything, right? 6 is the correct answer, okay? So how many different plastics, types of plastics are used to make an inhaler? Correct, right? Is there a reason why there's 6 different types of plastics in an inhaler? No. No, well, that'll be one plastic inhaler. No, it's not. It's not. So from an engineering material science perspective, when we talk to our academics about why are there 6 different plastics in an inhaler when you break them down, okay, there is no reason for it, right? Do you know how difficult it is to recycle a component with 6 different types of plastic in it? Close to impossible in the way that we currently configure our collection depots, and I'll go on to collection depots in a minute, okay? So the pharmaceutical industry is subcontracting to people to make inhalers for them that actually don't realize the implication when they make it 6 different plastics and make it impossible for us to do it, let alone the aluminium insert that goes in them and the actual medical therapy inside them, okay? So they're creating a really poorly designed thinking. So if you don't know that picture, okay, that's a guy who can't see the back end of his car, but he's still using a windscreen wiper, right? They're doing that, right? They're not thinking about the life. Somebody mentioned life cycle of product, okay? They're not really thinking about that, right? They're not thinking about anything at all, okay? They're just thinking about cost, maybe, right? And then designing something that's really impossible to actually recycle in reality, right? So the first thing that we can actually do in terms of action is to write a little paper to the pharmaceutical companies. Where's procurement? On values-based procurement, right? And say, we'd really like you to make it out of one piece of plastic if you could, right? That'd be really helpful for us, and see which ones of them respond, okay? Because if they make it out of one piece of plastic, when we look at the other bit around this, which is what's the process, what's the organic process of recycling, okay? If you get the collection depot correct in local authorities, okay? Sorry, lady with the red hair. That's you that I'm looking at. So what's your name? No, red hair. You haven't got red hair. Come on. Stop claiming to have red hair when you don't have red hair, right? Mary, okay, you do recycling. What's your blag for plastics? What color is it? Mine's blue because I'm Bridgend, obviously. Green, okay? When you do your recycling, if the collection depot configuration is correct, right, and you can get your inhaler or whatever plastic related health media that you've got, and you can put it in your green bag, am I actually asking you to do something special? No. Are you more likely to do it? Okay. Because most of the inhaler recycling programs that have been initiated with pharma make you put all your stuff in a plastic bag, run down to a pharmacist, yeah, to collect it. And then that pharmacist has got to take it to a specialist recycling collection depot, either TerraCycle or Grundy's. Do you know how much those guys cost? Cost a blooming fortune, right? And do you know what? Nobody actually does it because they haven't actually thought about what drives human behavior to be able to do this. So part of our exploration of our cohort was making things as mundane and as normal as people, because if you make it mundane and normal, people probably end up doing it because they're not making a special effort over it, okay? The other thing that we found is that there's not one organization that actually can do this whole process around the way we're looking at using waste, but thinking of it as resource. And I'll go on to this in a minute, okay? Think of it as resource. It requires academic collaboration, public sector collaboration, third sector collaboration, and importantly, the industry, right? The industry are vital players in this, not only in terms of what they're actually producing to support us, but the way the way that they design think how the life cycle of the product could actually work, okay? We can't do this on our own, right? And we can't be defensive about it, right? So we need to federate that ability to be able to do so. 1 minute. And then the final thing that we thought about, okay, is if you can't federate all the technology that's available, right, and put it in a built environment in the way that we start building and manufacturing houses of the future. So we had a lot about reconstructing, redesign people's dwellings, okay? Because the dwelling is the biggest source of your real health in Wales and in the rest of the UK. We don't design things to support health and well-being for the person when they're actually designing or building a house, okay? If you can't do that, and if you can't upscale what you're doing, we're not going to have the impact on the 31% that we're desperately trying to get to. And actually, Wales needs to develop a USP doing it. Now, the people that we're not letting off the hook, okay? This involves all sectors. So Welsh Government needs to seriously think about their strategy around how they actually allow us to do this, and policy around it. The industry needs to get involved in having a conversation about it. We need to action it. So action-wise, there is a health summit around smarter net zero sustainable that RIW are co-hosting with the University of South Wales. It's in November. Sign up if you want to. Delegates are free. It's at the ICC. There's a whole series of actions that are coming out of this particular issue. I've said enough. Gary wants to come on, right? And you need your lunch. So thank you very much.